YouTube? It's your boy J Steph, man. Back at it again with another UK crime documentary. Not quite. We in Scotland, but yeah, same shit, bro. Who cares? Scotland's most dangerous gang just got wiped out. UK crime documentary. Shout out to you, bro. We finna tap in. We finna see which gang. It might be the Gillespies. I still don't know how to say their name, bro. But I reacted to them a while back, bro. And we heard how wild the brothers was. The brothers was wildin', okay? Without further ado, enough talking. Finna get right into the documentary. Tap them links down below. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hey, let's learn. Let's get it.
6 p.m. on a cold January night, a silver Toyota Yaris sat parked on Church Street, Baillieston. Two officers watched from a distance. Quiet surveillance, part of something much bigger. Then, all of a sudden, Mark Richardson appeared. He wasn't meant to be there, but this wasn't a night for plans. He started running. The officers were right behind him. And when they brought him down, what they found wasn't just a key, it was a trigger. And what it revealed would change everything. This is the story of Operation Escalade and the downfall of Scotland's most dangerous organised crime gang. It started in silence. No press conferences, no public warnings. Just a name, Operation Escalade, tucked deep inside Police Scotland's organised crime and counter-terrorism unit.
Oh, here they go.
Launched in 2014, it wasn't chasing street-level dealers. This was about something else.
Yeah, these are about the big
Intelligence had pointed to a tightly controlled network. Drugs coming in by the ton, firearms traded across borders, and millions in dirty cash disappearing offshore. It was the scale that stood out. The syndicate was moving industrial quantities of cocaine, at least a ton a year, most of it landing in Scotland. The profits were staggering. Some investigators believed the network was turning over more than £100 million annually, but the money itself wasn't the most dangerous part. It was how quietly it moved. The group didn't shout. No flashy cars, no high-profile shows of wealth. Instead, they hid behind shell companies, encrypted devices, and stolen identities. They used industrial units, lockups, and properties under false names. Their logistics were clinical, and enforcement was more brutal. Officers started by watching the outer edges, rented garages, unfamiliar vehicles, unfamiliar faces. Everything pointed to something much bigger, but nothing connected. Not yet. They didn't know the names at the top. Not officially. They had fragments, aliases, burner phones, ghost leases, but the core of the syndicate was still out of reach. That's why Baillieston mattered. The silver Yaris was one of several vehicles linked by surveillance. It had been observed moving between lockups, parked outside industrial units under false tenancy. Detectives didn't expect Richardson to walk into frame that day, but when he did, and when they took him down, what they found didn't just confirm their suspicions, it blew them wide open. Escalade was no longer an idea, it was real. And now they had the first piece of evidence to prove it. The Toyota Yaris was just the beginning. Once officers understood what they were looking at, a concealed hydraulic compartment triggered by a Bluetooth fob, they knew they were dealing with something far beyond routine criminality.
What is that
The
for?
Glock found inside was clean, loaded, and linked to Mark Richardson by DNA. But more importantly, the method of concealment exposed the gang's engineering. This wasn't improvised, it was designed. That realization opened up the next phase of the investigation. Police began re-examining vehicles, garages, and industrial units connected to the network. The findings were staggering.
Oh my God.
In a lockup in Anniesland, officers recovered a black Honda CR-V. Like the Yaris, its body had been modified, not with amateur panels or glovebox hides, but with fully integrated hydraulic systems. Behind the rear bumper, they found a void. Inside it, 11 firearms, including Glocks, Berettas, a submachine gun, and an M75 grenade designed to kill anyone within 25 meters. Elsewhere, a second vehicle had a floor-mounted trap triggered by a hidden signal receiver behind a taillight. It took a complete forensic teardown to even locate it. The gang used at least 16 vehicles, mostly high-powered or stolen, all altered in some way.
Mm.
Some were fitted with spring-loaded traps. Others were equipped with remote locks, timed relays, or multiple layers of shielding to block scanners. Each compartment had one purpose: to carry weapons, drugs, or cash, and to survive police stops undetected. In one case, cash was discovered tightly wrapped in tape, hidden inside the cavity of a reinforced industrial spring. Another was stored inside a compartment so expertly sealed it had to be cut apart to be opened.
Mm.
None of this was accidental. It was precise, and it proved one thing beyond doubt. The people behind Escalade had resources, knowledge, and time, and they were using all of it to stay hidden. A former senior investigator later said the concealment methods showed experience that stretched beyond Scotland. The precision, the tools, the materials. It all pointed to people who had done.
Y'all see what these boys is using? Like, they got devices, hydraulic systems, modified vehicles. Ain't no gangbangers. You know the gangbangers that I'm talking that you do UK. Ain't nobody doing that. This is Pablo Escobar. This is who else? I don't know. This is that. This is high up, boy. Jesus, this Kinahan shit. Gary Hutz in his prime, like,
This before.
boy.
People who had learned from others. People who were building something built to last. This wasn't a collection. It was stock. And every weapon recovered gave police more than just proof. The Beretta pistol recovered in Annie's Land looked clean.
Mm.
It had been wiped down, handled with gloves, sealed inside a hidden compartment. By all accounts, there was no usable DNA, no trace left behind. That's what the gang believed. But in Gartcosh, inside the Scottish crime campus, a new technique was about to prove them wrong. Traditionally, forensic teams could only swab the surface of a weapon. Any blood, sweat, or skin cells left inside the mechanics were beyond reach. But at Gartcosh, a new method had been developed. They began dismantling firearms piece by piece, chamber, magazine, and so on, collecting microscopic traces from where blood might have seeped in under pressure.
Wow.
The Beretta was taken apart. Inside the firing chamber, lodged deep in the mechanism, was a trace of DNA. It matched a name police already knew: Robert Allen.
Wow.
That evidence changed everything. The gun wasn't just illegal. It was now tied to a known act of torture. And for the first time, police had something beyond stories. They had proof. Before we move forward, it's worth understanding just how brutal this incident truly was, and why that pistol carried more than just a fingerprint. In 2015, Allen was a small-time drug dealer, but he owed the wrong people £30,000 in unpaid cocaine, money that belonged to the syndicate.
Wow.
He fled Scotland. For 2 years, he stayed off their radar. But in March 2015, they found him
They caught that
in a quiet village near Barnsley, South Yorkshire. That's where David Sell, a known enforcer for the group, arrived with 2 armed men. They dragged Allen into a car, drove him 240 miles north, and took him to a remote industrial unit in Fauldhouse, West Lothian.
Yep, that's how it be, the mob.
Inside, Allen was chained up. What followed was methodical. What happened next wasn't just punishment. It was calculated, prolonged, designed to inflict pain, fear, and silence. By the time they were done, Robert Allen had been broken, physically and mentally, and left with injuries he was never meant to survive.
Jesus Christ.
But they weren't finished. He was bundled into a car, driven to a remote spot near East Kilbride, and shot, twice in one knee, then once in the other. His attackers dragged him to the top of a hill and ordered him to roll. They left him there. Somehow, Allen survived. A passing couple found him and called for help. He gave no names, said nothing. Not then. That Beretta pistol had been used to pistol whip him. Now it was evidence. And that made investigators think. The syndicate wasn't just moving drugs. They were enforcing with calculated cruelty. An arrest warrant was issued for David Sell. The man believed to have led Allen's abduction was now directly linked by forensic evidence. When Sell was arrested, he was no longer just a name in surveillance logs. He was the first high-ranking member of the syndicate to face charges backed by physical proof. And with him in custody, the foundation of the network, quiet, calculated, and previously impenetrable, finally began to shake. The next thing to unravel wasn't just what they hid, it was how they stayed one step ahead of the people chasing them. As investigators moved in on the syndicate's safe houses and vehicles, another layer of protection began to surface. One built on technology, anti-surveillance equipment, listening devices, signal jammers, the kind of tools usually seen in military operations or elite law enforcement. And the gang had them all. Hidden among the recovered items were Orion nonlinear junction detectors, used to sweep for hidden microphones and transmitters. One alone.
These boys got counter surveillance to counter the cops and their equipment that they could use to find their ass. These niggas is using military grade. Oh my Jesus, boy. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna do crime, you gotta do it like this. You can't be no UK drill rapper, bro, doing crime and shit. Especially like selling the amount of quantity that they selling. Like you could sell a little weed here, a little crack here, or whatever. Like, nah, bro. If you really want to make bread off that shit, you gotta go to lengths of this. This is how far you gotta go, bro. This shit is crazy. This shit is crazy, boy.
Cost £25,000. Another device, capable of detecting illegal transmissions, was valued at nearly £40,000.
Damn!
These weren't off-the-shelf gadgets. These were state-grade countermeasures. Detectives started to notice patterns. Surveillance vans would lose signal. Officers reported devices showing no transmission data, even while gang members were visibly using phones inside. There were moments when tracking systems flatlined, as if something was jamming the air itself. Then came the encrypted phones. The gang had invested in custom encrypted communication platforms sold under the guise of privacy tech. No names, no messages that could be traced, just silent instructions typed and wiped. One syndicate lieutenant was later found to have sent 33,000 encrypted texts in just 2 months, many containing orders to attack, intimidate, or disappear people. Meetings became harder to intercept. Gang members met in cemeteries, in garage lockups, or behind shuttered shop fronts registered under the names of wives and girlfriends. Locations changed constantly. Surveillance teams began to suspect some of the vehicles were even capable of detecting or jamming tracking devices in real time. This wasn't paranoia. It was protocol. The further detectives got into Operation Escalade, the clearer it became. This wasn't just the most violent group they'd ever encountered. It was the most prepared, digitally enabled, technically advanced, organized crime at its most professional. They didn't wait to be watched. They watched first. But even the best systems rely on routine. And for Escalade, routine came in the shape of a man with a bag, moving money in broad daylight right under everyone's nose. He didn't stand out. No criminal record that would raise red flags. No flashy lifestyle to suggest he was sitting on millions. But between May and October 2019, Gerard McTaggart was seen again and again carrying a weighted Asda carrier bag into premises linked to the syndicate. Police had been watching him as part of an extended surveillance order. It wasn't what he said, it was where he went and who he met. Over 5 months, McTaggart visited at least 21 locations known to be connected to the group. On 9 occasions, he was seen handing off or exchanging bags, parcels that never appeared again. Always subtle, always quiet, but always with weight. He used different vehicles, met in different parts of the city, from takeaway shops to hardware stores, from gift boutiques to plumbing depots. Each visit revealed another layer of the network's cover. Le Sorel, a boutique in Burnside, owned by the wife of a senior member, RPL Plumbing in Glasgow, linked to another key associate. The Berg Bar in Rutherglen. Just another ordinary-looking location. Until you looked closer, each business was legitimate on paper, registered, staffed, and trading. But behind the tills and under the counters, they served another purpose. Cash-in points for drug money, drop locations for wages, and safe spaces for face-to-face coordination. McTaggart didn't just move money. He linked names to addresses, locations to operations. For investigators, he became a live map of the gang's infrastructure, one visit at a time. When police finally moved in, they found him at RPL Plumbing. He was carrying a bag with £14,575 in cash.
Damn.
No paperwork, no explanation. Inside his phone, contacts, encrypted messages, and photos of McTaggart socializing with known high-ranking members of the Escalade syndicate.
Wow.
For months, he'd played the quiet courier. Now, he was a key link in a very public chain. Gerard McTaggart died in HMP Edinburgh on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. McTaggart gave investigators a map, but the ones they really wanted had already gone off-grid. For nearly a decade, two names had hovered just out of reach: Barry and James Gillespie, brothers from Rutherglen, low profile in their early years. But by 2014, investigators believed they were sitting at the top of Scotland's most sophisticated crime syndicate. They weren't street-level players, they were architects. Police suspected they controlled the entire operation. Drugs, weapons, cash movements, even the syndicate's links to South America and mainland Europe. Their network was clean, layered with shell companies, loyal intermediaries, and near-constant relocation. Operation Escalade had warrants in hand. But by the time arrests began, the brothers were already gone.
Yeah,
Intelligence placed them first.
Yeah, I didn't know the Gillespie brothers. They went to South America somewhere and disappeared off the face of the planet. I don't know if they're, dead and gone. I don't know. Some people in the comment section said they was dead. Some people saying they just hiding out. I have no idea, bro. I don't know where these niggas are at. So, yeah.
In the Netherlands, then Portugal, and eventually Brazil, where they lived for years on a luxury estate. They used encrypted mobiles to stay in touch with associates back home. Police suspected they were still directing operations, even from 6,000 miles away. But then, silence. For over 4 years, the Gillespies vanished from all known channels. No verified sightings, no intercepted messages, no digital footprints. In 2023, Police Scotland made a quiet admission. The Gillespie brothers were feared dead. Speculation suggested they may have been murdered in Brazil, potentially over cartel debts or internal betrayal. But no bodies were found, no confirmation followed. Still, their absence created a vacuum. And into that space stepped others, lieutenants and enforcers who tried to keep the empire running. Some were caught, some disappeared too. The Gillespies' disappearance didn't mark the end of the syndicate, but it marked a shift. Escalade was no longer about chasing shadows. It was about dismantling the remnants, one arrest at a time.
Damn.
It ended the way few thought it would, not with another vanishing act or a botched trial, but with the gang's key figures lined up in the dock. By the end of it all, 42 individuals had been convicted under Operation Escalade. But it was the core leadership, the men at the heart of Scotland's most sophisticated crime syndicate, who faced the longest terms behind bars. David Sell, the enforcer, was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months. He was the first to be taken down with evidence that linked directly to acts of torture. Barry O'Neill, 37, convicted for his role in the same incident, was sentenced alongside him. The court heard how the syndicate was structured like a business. Each member had a function: trafficking, distribution, finance, enforcement. And each operated behind layers of fake names, burner phones, and front businesses. But Escalade had pulled those layers back. At sentencing, the judge described the group as organized crime at a level rarely seen in this country, with technical capabilities and global reach. Mark Richardson, linked by DNA to the concealed Glock inside the Yaris, received 8 years. James White, once a quiet operator, later revealed as one of the syndicate's top-level directors, was tracked down in Brazil and extradited. Fluent in Spanish and linked to encrypted communications with drug cartels, he was jailed for 9 years and 10 months at the High Court in Sterling.
Yo, these sentences, that's not bad, bro. Niggas is getting 15, 8, 9. I mean, it's still like, you still going to jail, but like, bro, they not, I don't know, maybe our jail system is different. Maybe y'all actually going to really rehabilitate these niggas. I don't know.
Joseph Lindsay, captured in Tenerife as he waited to meet his wife at the airport, received 4.5 years.
4?
His DNA had been found on elastic bands used to bundle drug money.
Oh, okay, so...
Christopher Hughes, part of the same empire, but operating at a more global level, was found guilty of orchestrating the assassination of Dutch crime blogger Martin Koch.
I remember that.
He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 25 years.
Damn!
Apart from these top cream, there are a few more. Gerard Docherty, Stephen McCardle, Francis Mulligan, Michael Bowman, Anthony Woods, and Martin Fitzsimmons each received lengthy terms, totaling 87 years behind bars.
Sheesh.
What began with a chance arrest outside a takeaway ended with a courtroom full of convictions, and the most dangerous crime syndicate in Scotland facing justice. But what do you think? Did the sentencing reflect the scale of the damage they caused? Were the years behind bars enough for a network that spanned continents?
What y'all think, man? Let me know in the comment section.